Did you know that the way you handle your emotions can be the difference between peace and chaos in your life? In a world where we're constantly told to express ourselves, it's easy to believe that sharing every thought, feeling, and plan is the key to happiness. But what if I told you there's real strength in silence? If you want to master your inner world and thrive in your personal growth, you need to do this. Embrace the power of restraint and quiet discipline. This isn't about suppressing who you are, it's about understanding when to share and when to hold back. Stoicism teaches us that control over our emotions, desires, and even our plans is what leads to true freedom. Avoid this mistake, thinking that sharing every thought makes you stronger. Sometimes, the most powerful transformations happen in silence. In this video, we'll explore the hidden strength that comes from keeping your silent battles private, confronting your self-doubt in stillness, guarding your future plans with discretion, and much more. Together, we'll journey through Stoic principles that will help you master the flow of your emotions and protect your personal growth in a way you may have never considered. Number 1. Keep your silent battles private. The power of selective sharing. There's a sense of calm when you start your day, an anticipation of what's to come. Maybe you wake up to the smell of fresh coffee, the warmth of the sun pouring in through your window. Everything feels manageable. There's happiness in the little routines, in the quiet moments before the world demands your attention. But life isn't always about the peaceful mornings, is it? Sometimes there are internal struggles, silent battles that no one else can see. In today's world, it's easy to feel the pressure to share every thought, every feeling, every triumph or failure. Social media has made it tempting to broadcast the highs and lows, to seek comfort or validation from an audience that can respond with quick praise or sympathy. But here's the thing. Not every battle is meant to be shared. Not every wound needs to be exposed to the light. There is power in keeping some of your struggles private, in knowing that your battles are your own, fought in silence, without the need for applause or acknowledgement. When you think about it, the happiest moments in life aren't always the ones you've shared with others. Sometimes, the deepest satisfaction comes from knowing that you've endured something difficult on your own, without the world knowing. Maybe you've faced a personal challenge, a health issue, or a difficult relationship, and you chose not to talk about it. You chose to confront it quietly, with resolve. And when you came out on the other side, that victory was yours alone, untouched by the opinions of others. This is a concept the Stoics understood deeply. There's strength in selective sharing. By keeping your silent battles private, you preserve the purity of your struggle and the meaning of your growth. The world doesn't need to know about every hardship you face. Sometimes it's enough that you know. When you choose what to share and what to keep to yourself, you maintain control over your narrative, and you prevent the world from dictating how you should feel about your own experiences. Think back to a time when you kept something to yourself, a personal challenge or an internal struggle. Do you remember how it felt to face that alone? It wasn't easy, but there was a sense of quiet strength in that decision. You didn't seek approval or validation, you simply endured. There's a certain nostalgia in remembering those moments, isn't there? A time when you relied on your own inner resources to get through something tough. And now, looking back, there's a curiosity about how much stronger you've become because of it. As you move forward, think about what battles you might be facing right now. Are there struggles that you feel pressured to share with others? What if you chose to hold on to them for yourself, to face them in silence and let the growth happen quietly? What kind of strength could that build within you? The answers to those questions could reshape how you approach the challenges in your life. Number 2, master self-doubt, confront insecurities in silence. We all know that feeling of self-doubt. It starts as a whisper, a small, nagging voice that questions your abilities, your worth, your decisions. And before you know it, That whisper can grow into something louder, something that makes you second-guess yourself at every turn. Yet, in those moments of doubt, there's also a flicker of hope. Happiness still exists in the moments when you prove yourself wrong, when you push past the doubts and realize that you're capable of far more than you believed. It's tempting to talk about self-doubt, to open up about your insecurities in hopes that others will reassure you, telling you that you're enough, that you're doing great. But sometimes the most powerful way to confront self-doubt is in silence. It's in these quiet moments of introspection that you begin to truly understand the nature of your insecurities. Why do they exist? Where did they come from? What are they trying to teach you? Stoicism teaches us that the battle with self-doubt is an internal one. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, often wrote about the importance of turning inward, of understanding that the obstacles we face in life, including self-doubt, are created within our minds. And because they exist in our minds, that's where they must be confronted. Think back to a time when you faced self-doubt. Maybe it was before a big presentation, an important decision, or even something as personal as a relationship. Did you turn to others for reassurance, or did you take a step back and face those doubts on your own? There's something nostalgic about remembering the times when you chose to confront your insecurities in silence. It wasn't easy, but it was honest. In those moments, you weren't relying on anyone else's opinion or validation. You were relying on your own strength, your own ability to overcome. Imagine for a moment what it would be like to master your self-doubt, to confront it head-on without seeking comfort from the outside world. How would that change the way you see yourself? What would it feel like to look back on your life and know that you faced your insecurities in silence, and that in doing so, you built an unshakable confidence? There's a curiosity in that thought, isn't there? A curiosity about just how much more resilient you could become if you stopped looking outward for reassurance and instead turned inward for strength. Number 3, guard your future plans. The advantage of discretion. There's something magical about the beginning of a new journey. Whether it's the start of a new project, a personal goal, or a life-changing decision, the excitement that comes with new beginnings can fill you with hope and happiness. You can almost see the future stretching out before you, full of possibilities. And yet, with that excitement, often comes the urge to share your plans with others, to announce your intentions to the world. But here's the thing, there's an advantage to keeping your future plans close to your chest. When you share your goals too early, you open yourself up to opinions, criticisms, and doubts that can cloud your vision. The excitement you once felt can be dampened by the weight of other people's expectations or skepticism. That's why Stoicism emphasizes the importance of discretion when it comes to your future plans. There's power in holding onto your dreams and allowing them to grow in the quiet of your own mind. Think about a time in your life when you had a goal. Something big, something important. Maybe it was a career change, a personal transformation, or a creative project. Did you share it with others right away, or did you keep it to yourself for a while, allowing it to take shape in private? There's a certain nostalgia in remembering those quiet moments of planning, isn't there? Before the world knew what you were up to, it was just you and your dreams, and that made them feel all the more special. When you guard your future plans, you give yourself the space to fully commit to them without the distraction of outside voices. You allow your ideas to take root and grow strong before they're exposed to the elements. It's like planting a seed in the ground and letting it sprout in the safety of the soil before it breaks through the surface. There's something almost sacred about keeping your future plans private, about nurturing them in silence. Now imagine what would happen if you applied this approach to your life today. What plans do you have for the future? What dreams are beginning to take shape in your mind? What if, instead of sharing them with others right away, you chose to guard them? What if you let them grow quietly, protected from the noise of the outside world? There's a curiosity in that idea, a curiosity about just how much stronger your plans could become if you allowed them the space to grow in silence. Number 4, resist the temptation of excessive comfort, growth through quiet discipline. Picture this. You're sitting in your favorite chair, wrapped in a cozy blanket, with no pressing tasks at hand. The world outside might be chaotic, but right now, everything feels comfortable and safe. There's happiness in moments like these, in the ease and familiarity of our routines. We all crave comfort, and it's natural to seek it. But sometimes, comfort can become a trap. It's easy to linger in that safe space, avoiding challenges or discomfort, without realizing that true growth often comes from pushing past those boundaries. The modern world encourages comfort in all forms. Whether it's the convenience of fast food, the ease of binge-watching shows, or the allure of endless social media scrolling. But Stoicism teaches us that too much comfort can weaken us. Discipline, especially when practiced in silence, is what leads to lasting growth. Quiet discipline is about making those small, uncomfortable choices that lead to bigger transformations. It's about waking up early to exercise when you'd rather sleep in, choosing to focus on your goals instead of distractions, and pushing yourself to do things that might seem hard in the moment, but will benefit you in the long run. Think back to a time when you resisted the pull of comfort. Maybe it was when you decided to stick to a difficult routine, learn a new skill, or step outside your comfort zone in some way. At first, it might have been challenging, but over time, that quiet discipline paid off. There's a nostalgia in remembering those moments, isn't there? A time when you prioritized your long-term growth over the immediate satisfaction of comfort. And looking back now, you can probably see just how much you grew because of it. Now, imagine what it would be like if you applied that same quiet discipline to your life today. What areas of your life have you grown too comfortable in? What challenges have you been avoiding? What if you made a conscious effort to embrace discomfort in those areas, to push past the temptation of excessive comfort and to focus on growth instead? There's a curiosity in that idea, a curiosity about just how much further you could go, how much stronger you could become if you chose to resist comfort and instead embrace the quiet discipline of growth. Number 5, protect your vulnerabilities. Strength in silent reflection. We all have vulnerabilities, those tender parts of ourselves that we try to protect. Maybe it's a past failure that still stings, a fear of not being good enough, or a deep-seated insecurity that you've carried with you for years. In a world that often encourages openness and sharing, it can feel like the best way to deal with these vulnerabilities is to talk about them, to expose them to the light in hopes that they'll lose their power. But sometimes, the strongest way to protect your vulnerabilities is in silence, through quiet reflection rather than outward expression. There's a certain happiness in feeling understood, in sharing your vulnerabilities with someone you trust. But Stoicism teaches us that true strength often comes from within, from learning how to process and protect those vulnerabilities without needing external validation. It's about taking the time to reflect on your own fears, your own weaknesses, and finding the strength to confront them internally, without relying on others to help you make sense of them. Silent reflection gives you the space to process your vulnerabilities at your own pace, to sit with them and understand them, rather than rushing to share them with the world. Think back to a time when you dealt with something difficult on your own, when you took the time to sit with your thoughts and feelings rather than immediately turning to someone else for help. Maybe it was during a tough decision, a personal loss, or a period of self-doubt. There's a nostalgia in remembering those moments of quiet reflection, isn't there? A time when you trusted yourself to handle your vulnerabilities, and in doing so, discovered a strength you didn't know you had. Now imagine how different your life could be if you made silent reflection a regular practice. What vulnerabilities are you facing right now? What if, instead of sharing them with others, you took the time to reflect on them quietly, to process them internally, and to find your own path to healing and growth? There's a curiosity in that thought, a curiosity about how much more resilient you could become if you learned to protect your vulnerabilities through silent strength rather than seeking reassurance from the outside world. Number 6, process personal grievances internally, finding inner peace. There's a certain satisfaction in venting when something bothers you. Maybe it's a minor annoyance, a rude comment from a stranger, a frustrating interaction at work, or a personal grievance that's been simmering for days. You might turn to a friend or loved one to share your frustrations, and in the moment, it feels good to get it off your chest. There's happiness in feeling heard, in knowing that someone else understands your frustration. But Stoicism teaches us that constantly seeking external outlets for our grievances can prevent us from finding real inner peace. The Stoics believed that true peace comes from within, not from external circumstances or the validation of others. When we process personal grievances internally, we give ourselves the opportunity to look at the situation from a broader perspective. Instead of reacting emotionally or impulsively, we take the time to reflect on what really matters. We ask ourselves, is this worth my energy? Does this grievance really deserve to occupy space in my mind? Often, the answer is no. Think back to a time when you chose to process a grievance internally rather than venting to someone else. Maybe it was a difficult situation at work, a personal disagreement, or a small irritation that in the moment felt larger than it was. There's a certain nostalgia in remembering how you handled that situation quietly without seeking outside validation. By processing it on your own, you were able to find a sense of calm and perspective that might not have come from venting. Now imagine what it would be like if you applied that same approach to the grievances in your life today. What small frustrations or personal irritations are you holding on to? What if, instead of sharing them with others, you chose to process them internally, to reflect on them in silence, and to find your own path to peace? There's a curiosity in that idea, a curiosity about how much lighter your life could feel if you let go of the need to vent, and instead focused on cultivating inner peace through quiet reflection. Number 7, cherish personal achievements. Seek validation from within. There's a special joy that comes with achieving something you've worked hard for, whether it's finishing a big project, hitting a fitness goal, or learning a new skill. The sense of accomplishment brings a surge of happiness, and naturally, we want to share that feeling with others. Maybe it's a quick social media post or telling a close friend about your success. External validation feels good, but Stoicism teaches us that the most lasting form of satisfaction comes from seeking validation within. When you rely too much on outside praise, your sense of achievement can become dependent on others. The world doesn't always notice or celebrate your wins, no matter how hard you've worked for them. Stoic wisdom reminds us that true pride comes from within, from knowing that you did your best, regardless of whether others recognize it. Cherishing personal achievements in silence doesn't diminish their value. In fact, it strengthens the internal pride and satisfaction that really matters. This quiet recognition gives you confidence and resilience as your sense of worth becomes rooted in your own efforts and values. Think back to a time when you achieved something significant but chose not to announce it to the world. Maybe it was a personal milestone, something that mattered deeply to you but didn't need the applause of others to be meaningful. There's a warm nostalgia in remembering those moments, isn't there? The quiet pride you felt knowing that what you accomplished was yours alone. the strength of that inner validation often lingers far longer than the fleeting satisfaction of external praise. Now, consider what it would be like to apply that mindset to your life today. What if, instead of seeking approval from others, you learned to cherish your own accomplishments privately? What if you could find deeper fulfillment in the effort itself, knowing that your achievements don't need external validation to hold meaning? There's a curiosity in that. How much more powerful could your sense of accomplishment become if you trusted yourself to define success without waiting for the world to tell you? Number 8, keep your quiet desires close. Let them grow in silence. We all have dreams, goals, and quiet desires that fill our minds. Maybe it's a vision of a better future, a personal project you're passionate about, or a deep longing for change. There's happiness in having these aspirations, something to look forward to, something that excites and drives us. But in today's world of constant sharing and instant gratification, we're often tempted to reveal those desires before they've had time to fully develop. Stoicism teaches us the power of keeping our desires close, letting them grow in silence until the time is right. When you share your desires too early, you risk exposing them to outside influences, judgment, skepticism, or even well-meaning advice that might steer you off course. Quietly nurturing your desires allows you the space to explore them on your own terms. It gives you the freedom to make mistakes, course correct, and build your vision without the pressure of external expectations. In this silence, your desires grow stronger, becoming a part of who you are rather than something you need to prove to others. Think back to a time when you kept a personal goal or desire close to your heart. Maybe it was a secret dream, a quiet ambition that you didn't share with anyone. There's a certain nostalgia in remembering how that desire evolved in the privacy of your thoughts, how it grew stronger over time. It's often those quietly nurtured dreams that hold the most significance because they were allowed to develop without interference. Now, imagine what it would be like to keep your current desires close, letting them flourish in silence. What if, instead of seeking validation or advice, you allowed your goals to grow privately, in the safety of your own mind? What if you gave yourself the freedom to fully explore your desires without the pressure of outside opinions? There's a curiosity in that idea. What might those desires become if you let them grow quietly, unburdened by the world's expectations? The number 9, nurture personal growth. Privately, transformation in solitude. Growth is a journey, sometimes slow, sometimes challenging, but always rewarding. Whether it's personal development, emotional healing, or acquiring new skills, there's a happiness that comes with seeing yourself evolve. The temptation to share your progress with others can be strong, especially in a world that celebrates public transformation. But Stoic philosophy teaches us that the most profound growth often happens in solitude, nurtured privately, without the need for constant validation or recognition. When you nurture your growth privately, you give yourself the time and space to truly transform without the pressure of external judgment. You're not performing for others, you're evolving for yourself. This kind of quiet, personal growth is often the most authentic because it's driven by your own desire to improve rather than a need to prove yourself to others. In solitude, you can reflect deeply, experiment freely, and grow at your own pace without the distractions of the outside world. Think back to a time when you experienced a period of significant personal growth. Maybe it was during a difficult phase in your life, or perhaps it was a quiet decision to improve yourself in some way. There's a powerful nostalgia in remembering those private transformations, isn't there? The times when you chose to grow for yourself without needing anyone else to notice or applaud. Often it's in those solitary moments that we experience the most meaningful change. Now consider how much further you could go if you committed to nurturing your growth privately. What areas of your life are you trying to improve right now? What if, Instead of sharing your progress with others, you allowed yourself the space to grow quietly, focusing solely on your own transformation. There's a deep curiosity in that thought. How much more could you evolve if you embraced the power of solitude, allowing your growth to unfold in silence, free from external pressures? Number 10, control the flow of emotions, the power of Stoic restraint. Emotions are a natural part of life. Whether it's joy, anger, sadness, or excitement, we feel deeply and often react instantly. In those moments of happiness, we can be swept away by joy, and in times of frustration, we can be consumed by anger. Yet Stoicism reminds us of something crucial, the power to control the flow of our emotions. This control isn't about suppressing how we feel, but about mastering the art of restraint, understanding when to let emotions flow freely and when to temper them for our own well-being. Think about those moments of happiness when everything seems to fall into place. It's easy to get carried away by the excitement, wanting to share your joy with the world. But Stoic restraint teaches that even in happiness, balance is key. By controlling your emotional response, you can appreciate the moment fully without becoming overly attached to it. The same is true in times of frustration or anger, where a quick emotional reaction might feel justified, but Stoicism asks you to pause, reflect, and consider the long-term impact of your actions. In this restraint, there's power. You learn to stay grounded no matter what life throws at you. Nostalgia often brings us back to times when we struggled with controlling our emotions. Maybe it was a heated argument where anger got the best of you, or a moment of joy where you let excitement cloud your judgment. Looking back, there's a bittersweet feeling in those memories, knowing how your emotions shaped your actions, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. There's a lesson in those moments, though, reminding us of the importance of emotional control, not just for the sake of appearing calm, but for our own peace of mind. Now imagine what your life could look like if you mastered the Stoic art of emotional restraint. What if you could control your reactions, not just in moments of frustration, but also in times of joy? How much more peaceful could your daily life become if you held the power to direct your emotions, rather than letting them control you? There's a curiosity in that thought, a sense of wonder at the strength you could cultivate by learning to control the flow of your emotions, allowing them to enhance your life rather than dictate it. This ability to temper emotions, to choose when to let them run freely and when to hold them back, is one of the core principles of Stoic wisdom. It's not about being emotionless. It's about understanding that your emotions are within your control, and mastering that control is where true strength lies. By now, you've learned that true strength doesn't come from outward displays of emotion or constant sharing. It's rooted in restraint, reflection, and quiet growth. Stoicism teaches us that real power lies in mastering ourselves, protecting our inner peace, and allowing our progress to unfold in private. The more you can control your emotions and desires, the more you'll realize that true happiness and fulfillment come from within, not from external validation. Drop a 100 if you've watched this far. This shows that you're part of the rare 0.01% who truly finish what they start. If you're serious about changing your life and embracing the Stoic mindset, be sure to join our community by subscribing to the channel. Your journey toward a more resilient and peaceful life starts here. Let's grow together.